Hi, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and it is time to dye the bonus add-on skein for the 2019 Summer Mini Skein mini-series. This is the limited edition colorway and is something that I have been wanting to create for a few months now. This year, while randomly swatching different colors to get a sense of their hues, I created two colorways that absolutely blew me away. These had pops of color and a lot of bright hues, and I want to see if I can do something like this intentionally. So I'm going to pick a combination of colors from the two different swatching skeins that I did before and see if I can translate something onto this BFL high twist yarn from Wool to Dye For. This yarn is 80% superwash Blueface Leicester, 20% nylon. It's a 2-ply high twist, sort of similar to Knit Picks Hawthorne in the way it feels. It's just that the fiber type is different, and I'm really excited to go and give this a shot. For the first attempt, I am going to try out 3 different skeins. I've added on some reusable nylon zip ties and pre-soaked the yarn at room temperature for about an hour or so. In my steam pan, I have 8 cups of water and 4 tablespoons of white vinegar. Now we are going to add the yarn. I think these skeins are pretty long compared to some other companies, but I'm laying them sort of around this way, so that way hopefully we can access as much as possible. I am anticipating moving the skeins around in the pan multiple times. I think that it'll take many rounds to get this completely covered in dye. And so we could be in a lower immersion situation, but I'm going to be adding the dye powder and then moving it and sort of trying to help it through as much of the yarn as possible. But our pan is a lot more crowded than it was when I was doing the swatches in the first place. We are going to start with 5 colors. Sour Apple, Purple Pop for accents, and then Sapphire Blue, True Turquoise, and Bright Aqua for our swimming pool. Oh yeah, because the colorway name that I have in mind is Pool Party. Depending on how it feels, I might go and pull some additional colors, but this is where I think I want to start. I thought I was filming, and apparently I wasn't. So I'm going to demonstrate what I have done so far. I took a little bit of dye on my spoon, sprinkled it across, and then with that same spoon patted it down. So this color I just did was True Turquoise, which is this beautiful turquoisey blue, and I am shimmering it with the spoon for this first batch, so that way I can help like move it down through the skein a bit. The other colors that I have shown so far are Purple Pop and Sour Apple. I will be adding things more randomly as time goes on, but I did aliquot them into little cups, so that way I can adjust it as needed and I don't have to like wash my hands as frequently. The next color that I'm putting in here is Sapphire Blue. I'm just sort of re-swatching all of these shades again. The reason why I went for Sour Apple versus like Emerald Green is that I know that combined with some of these other colors, it'll get more green. And we will be layering these colors on top of each other. So the last color is Bright Aqua. And depending on how I'm feeling with these hues, I might do a little shift. Okay, the final color before I really start layering them that I decided to bring in at last minute is Frozen.
which I think is more, how does it compare to the turquoise? It's a little more bright blue. There's a little less yellow in it than some of those other colors. And I'm going to start taking this. We'll start with the frozen and start layering on these powders. I will be doing this in powder form first, and then we'll sort of press it all around. Now these colorways will not be identical. Not really by any stretch will they be identical. But there should be similar hues throughout all of them, if that makes any sense. Adding on some purple pop. And the order of these colors will probably vary a bit on different batches too. But I'm planning on doing mostly blues with then some hints of some of these greens and pinks. Here is a little more turquoise. And some sapphire blue. I know the colors look really lined up right now, but I think that because of the way that they are sort of randomly spaced in here a little bit, I don't think it'll look, I'm hoping it'll look more random as time goes on. But now I am just going around and pressing these powders in a bit before we go and flip it. Okay, I did not wait very long, and now I'm going to start flipping these colors, knowing that there is some bleeding, that the colors are not all absorbed, and that this is going to layer some of these colors onto some of these others. Okay, this is our other side, and I'm expecting I'm going to have to do this another time as well. Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit of our pink pop. Yeah, and honestly, I think that that is pretty good. And the same thing with the green. And then I'm going to go in with all of our different shades of blue. Frozen. I love the color Frozen. I'm going a bit heavier with this one than I did with some of the other colors, and I am trying to focus on areas that are paler right now. I've got some sapphire blue, and this time I'm going a little more randomly on each of the skeins. So this is one of those examples where the colors will not be identical on different skeins. So if you had multiple of this colorway, which I don't think has happened yet, I don't think anyone's ordered multiple, you will want, if anyone has multiple, they would want to potentially change skeins every couple of rounds. So now I'm going through and pressing. I could still add more turquoise and aqua, but I might wait until I move it. So I gave the powders a little bit of time. There will be, this won't be like a heavily speckled yarn, but there will definitely be speckles in here, just from the way that the different colors strike. But I'm not sure if you guys can appreciate the brightness and intensity, but you can see like the colors are absorbing pretty quickly. Okay, let's go in with some true turquoise in some of these areas that feel like they might need a bit more color. Trying to hit into the skeins. And so I'm inspired by brightly colored kids' swimsuits and pool toys and tropical cocktails. All this fun in the sun, summer brightness. Yeah, I have a feeling that there will be some variation from batch to batch. But by picking these colors, like we've got a lot of teals and turquoises, we've got true blues, we've got a lot of purple, bright green, just from layering them. I probably could have picked even fewer colors. Like maybe I need both the aqua and the true turquoise, but I really like where this is going. I waited about a minute or two, and now I want to rotate things again. Sort of just to bring in the yarn and look and see if there's anywhere that I wish had a bit more color and sort of bring those areas out. And I expect that this might vary, ooh, that's hot, a bit from skein to skein. Okay, and I imagine that I will be doing this another time as well. I'm turning down the heat to low, and I'm feeling like using some more sapphire blue, especially in these regions that feel like they need some more pops of color, or could use darker speckles. I think that of all the colors that we have in this yarn, the sapphire blue is the darkest of all those colors. So it can add like a little bit of a punch. I'm also going to go in with some frozen. Just add some more of that bright blue. Let's go in some of these areas and push it out a little bit. Again, there will be some speckles in here, but you know, I want the colors to be able to spread and layer on each other. Yeah, and I really, really like what's happening overall. Maybe I want a tiny bit more purple pop. Just like a hint. In some areas. To give a little bit more oomph. But I like the way that everything is layering and coming together. Okay, I am going to let this sit for 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to let this sit for 10 minutes before we go around and maybe add more color. But I have a little bit of color on my fingers, and I think it's mostly pink, but there's some blue in there. And I'm actually adding that to the yarn where it's not super hot. Leave no dye behind, right? I love what is happening here. Okay, I want to flip this over and see. There's definitely some pink left. I'm going to add a lot of water in a moment, but yeah, just peeking for any last areas that I think might need color. This one is pretty good. Okay, let's just add a tiny bit more color. Here, let's do a little bit of sour apple. I'm coming back in with the frozen. And there's a bright blue there already. And I am going to now sort of tap this-ish. To help spread the color through some of these areas. But overall, I'm happy. I don't mind if there are some paler areas, but I want a little more color there. Sapphire. Awesome. Yeah, I am really, really excited. And then adding on just some hints from my fingers. Okay.
I didn't wait very long, but I now want to add some more water. Here's an additional 4 cups of water because I really want to help the yarn absorb the color completely. I will turn up the heat again in a minute, and we're going to add more acid. So that was 4 cups of water. Here's another 4 cups of water. And now you can see that our yarn is really like, this is not low immersion anymore. Things can sort of float and move around a bit. I am also going to add some more vinegar. So a 1/4 cup of vinegar is approximately equal to 4 tablespoons. So I'm adding a full 1/2 cup of vinegar here. So it's not that much more acidic than it was at the beginning because I also added a lot more water, but it definitely is, like, there's definitely more acid in here. And since it's not that hot yet, you might want to use a spoon for this. I am just moving my hands around, but you can see like most of the color, there's still that purple pop will probably take a little while, but most of the color has absorbed. But hopefully this will help, you know, any powders that might be on the side or were just on the surface and didn't completely dissolve. This should hopefully give them a chance. So I'm going to go ahead and heat this. Once we start seeing bubbles, I'll reduce the heat again, but I'm going to heat this for 15 minutes. I created a bit of a ridiculous tower by adding some tinfoil cups and stacking the powder to save it for later. From bottom to top, it's frozen, purple pop, sour apple, then bright aqua, sapphire blue, and true turquoise. Okay, 10 minutes in, and ooh, that is not just a little bit of pink. We've got a fair amount of pink. So I am calling in a yarn mop. This is just a dry skein of the same exact yarn. And whether or not I use it for one or for multiple mops will depend, I guess, a lot. But let's, I mean, if this works like other purple pops, I have a feeling there will be a lot of bleeding in a lot of different ways. It also will probably pick up some hues from the sides of the pan. Okay, I'm going to pick up our 3 and give our yarn mop access to more of that color. Yeah, that's a lot of pink that is coming out of here. So our yarn mop shows that the amount of bleeding that we were seeing was not insignificant. But I am pretty optimistic that it won't bleed a ton in washing. I could be wrong, but if it's bleeding a lot while I'm washing it, then we can always come and soak it, and I'll set up like a full dye bath so that way we could do some full immersion dyeing. But I'm now going to turn off this heat and let everything cool down completely in the pan. Let's take a look at our cooled off yarn, and that dye bath is looking really clear. Maybe there's a bare hint of pink, but let's go ahead and wash all of the yarn. I don't think that our yarn mop is done. I am planning to use it with some of the leftover powders. I don't know if each batch of this colorway, if I'll have to use a yarn mop. So maybe it'll be like a 3-pack of the leftover color. Interesting. I'm seeing a little bit of blue bleeding here, not pink, and it's not very much, at least so far. I don't know if you'll remember that I had some blue bleeding another point in one of my swatch tests. I'm going to add some soap. And so I was hoping that maybe it was the Caribbean blue, which I left out this time on purpose. But we'll see. All right, I'm seeing a little bit of blue bleeding, but it's not super heavy. Hopefully it's not going to get super heavy. Crossing my fingers. Oh, crud. Maybe it's the turquoise. That is some bleeding. Okay, man, oh man, oh man. I set 3 of the skeins aside so that way I could focus on one and see just how bad the bleeding actually is. Because this way I will actually be able to squeeze out a lot of the water in between each rinse, which is harder to do when I have more yarn around. Yep. That's some bleeding. It's so funny to me because my tap water is slightly acidic, and there was no hint of this blue in the pot. So something about adding our soapy water is getting this blue to come out. Because even then you're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's light. And overall, given the intensity of the colors in this yarn, that really isn't bad. And it's getting better. I'm going to try soap one more time just to see. Because maybe it's something about the soap that's causing the bleeding. Seems about the same, not much worse. Definitely not as bad as what I got the other day. But I will say I am a little disappointed by the bleeding. But don't worry, I am planning to wash all of these until I can feel like there's no bleeding left. And okay, this is getting better. Like that's barely any color now. Whew-wee. I still love our pool party colorway, and I'm excited to create a bunch more of it. It's funny, I think when I'm editing my videos together, the washing step is my least favorite to include, but I do think it's helpful for you to all see where I struggle and where I succeed. And so therefore, you know, I think that it is really, really helpful. But also just look how beautiful this yarn is. I can rinse the yarn until it's clear, but if I add soap, then I get more blue bleeding. And so the way that I pretty much fixed this last time was by putting the yarn in a ton of vinegar in the microwave and letting that cool down. That is not as practical when I'm dealing with multiple skeins of yarn. So what I'm going to do is set up a dye bath with 12 cups of water, 4 cups of white vinegar, and then I am going to go ahead and simmer our yarn in here, our rinsed yarn in here, for at least 20 minutes, and then let the pot cool completely. This, I think, it will give the yarn the best possible opportunity to stop the bleeding. I could go ahead and do a soak and add some vinegar to the soak, but actually, and of course now that I'm in all this vinegar, there's no bleeding, but let's just go and make sure everything is as set as I possibly can get it. So I'm gonna put on a cover, and yeah, I'll come back and show you my first attempt to wash this yarn again once it's completely cooled. I will admit I am a little bit at a loss here. So we have simmered for 30 minutes and there's pink bleeding again. The pink bleeding happened pretty early on. And yeah, I'm just at a loss. Now, I think that this isn't hurting our beautiful colorway. Maybe it's muting some of the greens a bit, but it's still really pretty. It's just the pinks bleed while it's hot and the blues bleed while it's cold. I don't know. But there's no question I am convinced the colors are set. Certainly with acid dyes, colors can bleed when it's hot, but we're in acidic conditions. So, you know, when washing yarns, make sure that you wash them on their own with light colors. And anytime you're dealing with a super saturated color, go ahead and do a bleed test before you combine it with a white if you're concerned about colors bleeding and transferring. But anyway, I am going to let this cool completely in the pot. And yeah, I'll show you what it looks like before we go and try to wash again. I love this colorway so much, I think it's worth it, but we'll see. Hours later, the dye bath has cleared, so let's try to go wash this one more time. Guys, I have all of my fingers, arms, and toes crossed here. But this did the trick, because I don't know what was causing that blue bleeding, but oh hallelujah. Cross your fingers for me. I'm adding a little bit of dish soap now, just to check. Maybe this is what's needed. You know, it's possible that there was some blue powder that didn't dissolve completely, maybe on the edge of the pan or something, that was slowly dissolving and causing the bleeding. Maybe. Who knows? But, oh thank goodness, this is clear now. So I'm going to go ahead and do, you know, the second immersion soak for all of the yarn, put it through the spin dryer, and then I will finally be back to show you our pool party yarn. Here is the finished pool party yarn. This yarn features a lot of vibrant blues and teals with pops of pink and green. To sort of think about either pool toys or some really beautiful cocktails while you are lounging by the pool. This is a fun, very bright, very summery kind of colorway, and I love it. I think that looking at this, you can immediately see the difference between our first batch over on the left and the second and third batches that we did at the same time in the middle and the right. There is a lot more of the purple pop of this pink color in the first batch. And there's also probably a little bit more blue overall. The total brightness, I think, is just overall turned up a bit. The other colors are still very saturated, just a bit less than the first one. This is one problem with doing a colorway where you aren't measuring out the color and you're dyeing by feel. I was able to be really consistent between the two pans I had going at the same time, which is why there are so many similarities between these two batches. The first batch is definitely in that same color family, and you can tell that it's the same colorway. It's just definitely a different dye lot. So I know that I will actually mark these A, B, and C when I go and label them, so that way if someone has ordered 2 skeins of the add-on for their sampler, I can try to match the dye lot for them. Wow, this is the first time I've really had a dye lot before. I think a big part of the bleeding issue I had with the blues was a solubility issue. There are some particles in, and I'm not sure which blue color. In other tests it could be a few of them. But there's some particles that really don't dissolve for a long time, which is why you might see those little bits of bleeding, and doing that second deep immersion bath really helped. The next time I played with these colors at pretty similar levels, after my low immersion, I added a lot of water to make it from low immersion to full immersion and heated that for a while, and that really solved the huge bleeding issue that I experienced on this project. I always recommend washing any hand-dyed yarn, shirts, anything alone or with dark colors for the first few washes, just in case. But yeah, I'm glad that I put this through like the second batch of cooking, because I wouldn't want them to bleed for anyone. In that first batch, we added a yarn mop to help soak up some of that extra pink. And it's funny because if you compare this pink to all the rest of the yarn, there's a reasonable amount of color in this skein, but it is so much less saturated than the rest of the colors. But, you know, it's worth, maybe if you even have some waste bare yarn, you can see if bleeding is a problem by popping, you know, a gram or so into your rinse bath to see if there's color transfer, which could be a handy way to test things out if you are extra concerned. Am I super concerned about these now? No, because I was concerned when I saw that really bright blue come out as I was washing with soap, and it didn't seem to get any paler. But in the end, we were able to rinse them to it's clear, and so I am optimistic that these will behave well in the future. Look at the fun pops of color and speckles that you see on the yarn. Overall, they're very subtle because we have so many colors all mixed together. But I just love the way that these little specks are showing up on this high twist yarn. This was the first time in a while I've had such a big bleeding issue after washing the yarn. But ultimately I think it's worth it because I'm so happy with the way these colors came out. I feel like this really evokes summer. And yeah, I hope that if you're unwrapping this while watching this video that you are as excited about the colors as I am. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I don't often try to create so many skeins of one colorway. So for me, this was really educational. The last time for the Hanukkah special that I tried to dye so many skeins at once in one colorway, I had a carefully measured protocol that I could follow. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case here, and I was really curious to see how different things would vary from pan to pan. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. And you don't want to miss the next video because I need to dye the Summer 2019 limited edition sock blank. And that video will be the next one that I publish. If you love the content that I create here on YouTube, there are many ways that you can support the channel beyond subscribing. I have an Etsy store, ChemKnits Creations, which has dozens and dozens of skeins of hand-dyed yarn featured in past and upcoming videos. And if you don't really need any more yarn, but still want to help contribute to all the materials that make it into these videos, you can go and check out the ChemKnits Patreon. Patrons can get early access to new content, behind-the-scenes sneak peeks, voting and polls that shapes the direction of some of the videos I make, and more. You can find more information about all of this in the video description and iCard. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.